Hello again. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm Michael Nath. Now, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timi Silva, says Nigeria is positioning to become a major gas supply to Europe following the global energy crisis caused by the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Silva spoke during a panel session at the 50th anniversary of GasTech Conference 2022 in Milan, Italy. The minister maintained that the funding of gas development actually, at this point, was a win-win for Europe and Africa. According to him, Nigeria is positioning to be an alternative supplier to Europe as the ministry is working with Algeria to build the Trans-Sahara gas pipeline that is going to take gas all the way to Europe. The minister believes Europe needs this gas and it will be a win-win situation for all countries involved. Silva is optimistic that with the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, which has provided a clear fiscal framework for gas development, Nigeria will be able to attract more investments to the sector and increase its reserves. Currency in circulation fell by 107.08 billion naira from 3.35 trillion naira in April to 3.24 trillion naira in July. Latest figures on currency from the Central Bank of Nigeria has revealed. According to the CBN, the CIC, which stood at 3.33 trillion naira in May, fell to 3.25 trillion naira in June. The CBN recently warned deposit money banks against accepting mutilated naira notes, explaining that they were not the real currencies in circulation. Currency in circulation is defined as currency outside the votes of the central bank. That is all legal tender currency in the hands of the general public and in the votes of the deposit money banks, according to the Apex Bank. The CBN stated that it employed the accounting statistical withdrawals and deposits approach to compute the currency in circulation in Nigeria. This approach involves tracking the movements in currency in circulation on a transaction-by-transaction basis. Nigeria's pension fund assets rose to 14.36 trillion naira in July this year from 14.267 trillion naira the previous month. This represents 100 billion naira or 0.7 percentage growth in 1 month. This was made by the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, Funds Industry Portfolio for the period ended July the 31st, 2022. The report showed that a total number of retirement savings account holders stood at 9,730,778, while contributors under the micro pension stood at 81 million or 81,674 in the period under review. The report showed that the pension managers, pension fund administrators invested a major chunk of 9.04 trillion naira out of the total fund in the federal government's securities, of which 8.70 trillion naira went to the federal government bonds. 180.61 billion naira invested in treasury bills, 12.06 billion naira in agency bonds, 96.24 billion naira in sukuk, and 32.86 billion naira in green bonds. Now, Nigeria's financial services revenues are expected to grow by 12% per year until 2025. This was disclosed in a recent report published by McKinsey, which claims that Africa's financial services market could grow at about 10% per annum, reaching about $230 billion in revenues by 2025. Reacting to this, business analyst Ayotunde Alabi posited that the figure was conservative, pointing out that there is also a shift from the traditional job roles to more technical informed roles.
There's a lot of exodus from the mundane corporate banking institutions to smaller fintechs. We have like about 100 or 200 fintechs already in Nigeria, and they're taking to sort of employ new people. Then they're offering different kinds of job opportunities. For example, in time past, you don't have investors that are so you don't have opportunities, job opportunities for example, data scientists, artificial intelligence engineers, and things like that. So beyond even beyond the penetration, for example, I'm going to get there, but the kinds of jobs that are available now are now make so it's going to sort of expand the job opportunity market. It's going to expand the job market, and then there are going to be more opportunities, and also more again, they're going to sort of create more jobs basically, and then increase those kind of jobs. When you have jobs like back-end engineers, full stack engineers, before when you hear about engineers, you talk about petroleum engineers, chemical engineers, and civil engineers, but now you're talking about software engineers, you're talking about designers, people that design apps and different things basically. So it's going to be the kinds of jobs that we'll see going forward are going to be very, very different, and very different from what you're used to basically. So banking is not going to be, for example, not going to be the only kind of job that you will see in the financial space. You start to think about financial engineers, start to think about different things. So yes, I agree with that number, and I think that number is very conservative. Okay, so there's the issue of funding as well, right? So you have a fantastic idea, but you do not have the funds, the means to be able to. So I say access to capital, basically, right? Because you have a fantastic idea, but you also need that. So you also need those ideas funded before they can even see the light of day. So there's access to capital as well. Then also there are other challenges that are infrastructural in nature. For example, access to sometimes access to electricity, data, internet, and all those other things. So just again, I think also very critical is the access to capital, basically, because some startups struggle. Most startups struggle with when you're starting out with finances to sort of employ the right people to be able to develop those ideas. So for me, I would say, of course, regulation, but again, there's also the access to finances, and then finally, there's also the infrastructural bit where people have to, of course, when you have all those, when you've secured the funding, you also need infrastructure like electricity, constant electricity or constant power supply, and also access to internet for you to be able to develop those ideas, or the ideas to see the light of day, basically.
The Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria has commended the federal government for suspending the 5% excise duty charge on telecom facilities. Its executive secretary, Ajibola Olude, gave the commendation in an interview with the news agency of Nigeria in Abuja. He said investors would be willing to put more money into the industry. The chairman, Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, Benga Adebayo, said the government's decision showed its commitment to operators, consumers' concerns, and broadband penetration. The nation's economic crisis may take a worse turn as the Debt Management Office has warned that reports suggesting the suspension of Telecom's tax regime will hurt the country's revenue target for 2023. Director General of DMO, Ben Akabweze, raised the red flag during a live interview monitored on Arise television yesterday. His clarifications came after the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said the government was projecting a total revenue of 8.46 trillion naira, out of which 1.9 trillion naira is expected to come from oil-related sources, while the balance is to come from non-oil sources. This was as he denied knowledge of the suspension of the telecoms tax, as he said he only got to know of it through media reports. Akabweze said his office has not been advised of the suspension by the federal government. Now, the Nigerian government announced that from the months of December 2021 to August 2022, the sum of 103 37,183.92291 naira has been disbursed as bridging claims to oil marketers. This was disclosed in a statement by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority at the end of its meeting with the Northern Independent Petroleum Marketers Forum and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited on Tuesday in Abuja. This comes as the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria across 9 northern states had on Monday embarked on a 3-day warning strike over non-payment of their bridging claims. Bridging claims are the costs of transporting petroleum products from refineries and depots to fuel stations. The manufacturing of ICT and mining sectors led the list of sectors in Nigeria with the highest VAT remittances in the first half of 2022, jointly accounting for 62.2% of the total value at its tax revenue generated by the Federal Inland Revenue Services between January and June 2022. VAT revenue in the first half of the year increased by 11.7% to 1.19 trillion naira from 1.06 trillion naira generated in the second half of the previous year. This is according to the VAT report released by the National Bureau of Statistics, and also compared to the corresponding period of 2021, VAT revenue increased by 17.9% from 1.01 trillion naira generated in first half of 2021. A further breakdown of the report showed that 703.17 billion naira was generated as local non-import VAT, while 229.12 billion naira was from foreign non-import VAT. VAT revenue has been on a steady increase in the last 3 years when the federal government increased the VAT rate from 5% to 7.5% in a bid to increase government revenue. 3 technical colleges in EKITI State have benefited from the World Bank-assisted IDEAS project to the tune of over $250,000, that's over 105 million naira each, to enhance the capacity of the Nigeria Skills Development System to produce relevant skills for the formal and informal sectors. Presenting the checks to the benefiting colleges at an elaborate ceremony in Ado-Ekiti on Tuesday, Ekiti State Governor FAYEMI, who noted that the success of the project depends largely on the perception of all Ekiti people, especially the 3 host communities, implored everyone to embrace it and partake in activities so that many people can benefit from the intervention. The benefiting colleges were Government Technical College Otun, Government Technical College Ijeru, and Government Technical College Iwara Odo. The governor further assures the people that his administration is more committed to providing enabling environment for developmental projects in the state. We'll take a break now. The news continues when we return. Stay with us.